Hello, hello. Welcome to the explanation video for our tic-tac-toe game. I'll read the rules real quick. We were aiming to create a tic-tac-toe grid using an HTML element of our choice. That when clicked, an X or an O should appear on the tile or the square. The heading should say whether it's X's or O's turn or which player's turn it is. We should create a button that resets the game. And when a player is won or the board is full, there is some sort of alert that tells us what the outcome is. So let's dive right into it. This is just our boilerplate HTML code. We created a nice little H1 here up in our header, just welcoming folks to the tic-tac-toe game. And then inside of our main, we put the div. We developed IDs for the div. The H2, that's our kind of our scoreboard. So that'll tell us whose turn it is. And then our button here, played around with this one a little bit. Always try to stretch myself in these videos. So we did a primary button, but I didn't want it to appear until the tie condition was met. So we set it to display none for now. We'll take a quick peek at some of the functionality we added. Here's how we have that same reset button centered and set there. We had to match it up with the game grid, and then I'll show you the code once we jump into the JavaScript and look how it functions. Okay, so this is our JavaScript code here. The very first thing that came to mind was just to create a game board. And so we'll go back to our HTML. That's this first div here that we identified as a game board. You'll see there's nothing going on there. All of that is done within our JavaScript. I also wanted to develop a dynamic way to create the board. So we did a for loop here to loop through and create it. And then we use the append child to append the cells to the game board. Next, we use the query selector. This is how we are going to kind of run our board functionality. So we grab the game board and the columns. Again, that's referencing how we built out the game board. You'll see here we had an add columns, add the column class. So that's what we're passing into the query selector. Noting here that the query selector does return a node list, which is fine for this exercise since we don't need the full set of methods that are available to an array. The node list acts enough like an array that we didn't need to convert it to an array. So we just let it go there, but wanted to go ahead and mention that. A couple game states. Some of these got added at the beginning, some as I iterated through, but is player one turn true? That's how we're going to start the game. Game active is true. That has to correspond with kind of our game over modes, but we want that set to true at first. And then this is our definition for our reset button and what we're going to have that do. Next is where we really get into our game logic here. So this is where we have the updates for each turn. So every time we start with kind of an empty array or an empty node list, and then every time a player plays a square, we need to add that to that index. You'll notice a couple console logs here. I just noticed an error a couple hours ago. So I used these to check where in my code the error was occurring. Upon review, I might remove these and merge that to the GitHub repository. But for now, I thought it was cool because it was a big learning moment for me having to troubleshoot the issues. But we can, for all intents and purposes, kind of ignore those. And then use a ternary operator here. Part of our last chapter, we learned this is shorthand for an if-else statement. Some pros and cons to it. Ternary operator is great when you have kind of an either-or situation. So it could be either player one turn or player two. We need to place either an X or an O. It wouldn't work as well if you needed multiple outcomes. That you're better sticking with an if and else if statements there. But for this exercise, it worked. We know we only need two there. And then this is how we index the board and update it with those moves. The next thing we want to do is kind of check our winner state. and check like what state the board is in. So we want to iterate through these different scenarios, but always come back to checking if that if that scenario has come true. So in this case, if there's a winner, well, what do we want? Oh, console log distracted me there. Um, we want the turn display to turn off. The game active turns to false, and we declare our winner. So we basically want to end the game right here. Um, and then this makes our we remove the display none from our CSS class here. And that's what makes the reset button appear. The next scenario would be a tie or a cat's game, if you want to call it that. Same type of structure here. So very similar to a winner case, we want to turn the display of the board off. We display a message, no one likes a tie. Let's play again. And then we present the reset button here. The third scenario is neither condition is met. So the game's not over and all the tiles have not been checked. That means it's a different player's turn. So in this one, is player's one turn, we switch it to player two. After the switch, we pronounce whose turn it is, and then we update the turn display. I think that'll make a lot more sense once you see it. We have a little scoreboard down there telling the players whose turn it is. Here's where we put that message inside a template literal with a ternary operator. So that was kind of a fun one to build out. And then here's our winning combinations. I don't know if I cheated and took the easy route out here, but since 3x3 tic-tac-toe game only has 8 winning scenarios, I just went ahead and listed them all. So if we can picture our array with 9 spaces, that will be elements 0 through 8. So we just did the winning combinations here, and I just kind of kept track of them with these notes. So top row, middle row, bottom row, the left column, center column, right column, and then our 2 diagonal scenarios there. I am curious in a follow-up to look at if there was a way to more dynamically create this. Let's say there was a tic-tac-toe game that could be played on a 4x4 or a 5x5. So that's kind of a little feather I put in there. Let's see. This checks our board states here. So we go through our winning combinations one by one. This is kind of our winning equation here. So if board A equals board B and board B equals board C, and board A does not equal any blanks, we've got a winner. Otherwise, no winner yet, and we start the whole thing over. Here's a couple functions I had to move around. I mentioned all of those console logs. I had built this check tie function. This was one of the very last things I created. So I had everything working, except there was no outcome for a tie scenario. So I created this function, but for whatever reason, I put it within this check winner function. I thought it should be kind of nested in there. That created 3 hours worth of troubleshooting, which ended up being a blessing in disguise. Kind of going through those instances and having to work it out line by line. And I ended up just putting a ton of console logs in and seeing where it made a mistake, and it kind of led us to figuring out we need to put our function outside of the check winner function. So maybe looking back, that'll be a no-brainer. So let's fire it up here. I'm going to open it up with live server and drag it in. So here's our tic-tac-toe game. Yay, pretty simple. So let's play a quick round. We'll check a couple different scenarios. Let's do an X wins scenario. All right, there's our reset button. Player one wins. I guess player one knows he's X. Let's reset the game. Let's try a O wins round here. All right, player two wins. Reset the game. Let's try a tie scenario. Let's see, this could be harder. Oh, it's a win. Let's see if the Oh boy, this is harder than I thought. Maybe this will do it. No. Hey, there we go. We got a tie scenario. Okay, so there's our message. No one likes a tie. Let's play again. We also pushed this up to GitHub, which was another fun exercise. And one thing I noticed I'm going to start to do is upload the first version of the game, kind of a working model. This game came together over a couple days and a couple iterations. I sat down with kind of the order I wanted to do it in. That turned out to be more or less correct. But what I would love the GitHub repository to show going forward is kind of those iterations. So much like maybe we're creating an app and then adding new features, I'm going to start getting used to merging requests into the code and showing those updates here moving forward. So thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Please post any questions below, and I'd be happy to try my best to answer those.